Wolf pack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Vertical Street. RoastRejournal.com, we breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 8 Thursday Night Football fantasy. Let's go sit start show. Gonna get as many questions. We'll try to get to every single one we typically do on Thursdays regarding tonight's game. We'll have a few storylines to preview. Kimani Vidal, Oronde Gadsden, Jordan Mason with Aaron Jones now active. What do we do about all of that? But as always, the far majority of this time will be dedicated to you guys and your sit starts. So fill that mailbag up. Come on in, guys. Cannot wait to chat some ball and preview this game. And we got a pretty decent one. So let's start with our game preview real quick. We already have about 20 questions in the mailbag before going live. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for filling that up. If at any point you do enjoy what you're hearing too, that thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter, all that good stuff does help us get out to more people and is so greatly appreciated. Thank you again for being here. We've got the Vikings as 3.5-point underdogs against the Chargers. Chargers, of course, the home team here, over under 44.5. I'm going to go the Vikings on this one with the Chargers dropping 4 of their last 5. They are on a free fall right now, and sure, that should fuel the fire. They got to get it right. They have Harbaugh. They have Herbert. They shouldn't be losing. They're going to figure it all out, and they maybe win, but 3.5 is a fair amount to cover. A field goal or less does give the Vikings the win on the bet. And so I'll take Vikings with points. I do think the Chargers outright win this one. I do think this is a get the ship right type of game. Carson Wentz, after all, is the starter on the other side, but that's a great defense. They're up against a fresh unit right there as well. And so I really do like the Vikings to make this a very close game. So I'm going to go Vikings. I'm going to take I'm going under too. It's probably an ugly bet that people don't want to be hearing though, but give me Vikings, give me under. I do think we get some touchdowns here from some of the key parties, but ultimately, I don't think we're going to get a points bonanza as much as I love to say that we are. But let's dive into a few of these key fantasy products. And again, Wolfpack, fill up this mailbag. I only see about 10 or so questions so far from Bulldog, from Jax, from Ross, all my good regular faithfuls here. You love to see it. So thank you again so much for being here, but please do continue to fill up that mailbag so we have plenty to talk about. Or if we don't, we don't. We'll sign off then. But let's first talk about Kimani Vidal. Is he a must start? We have Hassan Haskins ruled out, and really no one else has been on this roster seeing any significant work. It's been only Kimani Vidal and Hassan Haskins, and largely Kimani Vidal since Omarion Hampton went down. 71% rush share over these last 2 weeks for Kimani Vidal, 66% snap share, 52% route share, 15% targets per route run. Solid right there. Very solid usage, and he's been averaging Kimani Vidal 15.2 points per game, the running back 10 over that time period. Granted, though, we have to mention that 22.8 points in week 6, running back 9 for the week. That came against the Dolphins. Everybody smashes the Dolphins. You could put my 90-year-old grandmother back there, and I'm sure she could end up amassing 150 total yards from scrimmage and maybe a couple scores. Fantasy monster, Grandma Tragoff. Yeah, anybody against the Dolphins is going to be a fantasy monster, though. And Kimani Vidal was no exception there. The next week, a little bit lackluster there with just 7.5 PPR points. But the usage of the peripherals still rock solid there for Kimani Vidal. 65% of snaps, 69% of the rushes, 51% of the routes. And again, the guy he was splitting that work with, in splits, a loose term there, given how much of it Kimani Vidal dominated. Hassan Haskins, though, he's out tonight. So ultimately, all this work should be going to Kimani Vidal. And I think against the Vikings, not the best of matchups, 22nd in fantasy points allowed to running backs. But we've had a couple decent days. Kenneth Gainwell had 28.4 points against them. We had 13 from Quinton Judkins, 18 from Bijan, and another 14 from Tyler Algier. So combined 32 points for those guys. I don't think this is ultimately a defense that's solid enough, but not one we have to fear, not one that we're fading by any stretch of the imagination. So Vidal, he's right there in my top 20 running backs. I believe at running back 17 right now, +3 ECR. I'm playing him in most situations. A good question I've gotten is Vidal versus Dowdle. Do I go with the pure workhorse back or the back in Dowdle, who's been very, very impressive, but we just saw last week, didn't start the game and played less than half of the snaps? I'm leaning Vidal in that case, just leaning into this workload again on a short week. They focus on the running game. They feature the run game, and he has himself a solid day. But let me know, of course, if you have a Kimani Vidal question or an Oronde Gadsden question, a player I wrote about today. If you want a more in-depth, detailed breakdown, go check out rotostreetjournal.com. I preview him as a prospect profile in terms of the summary there, production profile, elite, insane. I had over 950 yards in 2 of his 3 collegiate seasons. I think he's only one of 2 tight ends, and being Brock Bowers, the other one, to have 950-plus yards in 2 collegiate seasons. And ultimately, great after the catch, great contested catch guy. Just a insane receiving profile, kind of that fell to round 5 because that tweener profile. Is he an undersized tight end or an oversized slot, or is he just a phenomenal pass-catching asset that we know Greg Roman, his tight end history, 4 straight years of top 5 finishes for Mark Andrews. Before that, we had Vernon Davis going for multiple 13-touchdown seasons. This is a guy in Greg Roman who loves to feature his tight ends. We just saw Oronde Gadsden these past 2 weeks really elevate his role, 77% and 79% route share. First week step forward was really, really nice in week 6, where he ran just as many routes as Keenan Allen, had a nice 7 catches. Okay, this guy, maybe he's in a deep league format. You can take a peek. And then the next week, week 7, goes 9 targets, 7 catches, 164 yards. Yes, 164 yards. Insane. 4th most ever for a rookie tight end. 1 touchdown as well in that game. And if you read the hype all preseason, I have this guy on quite a few best ball teams. Became my last kind of de facto last round guy, whether it was DraftKings or Underdog. I knew he would be there. So I ended up with a solid 15-ish percent, 20% bag of Gadsden. I'm loving it right now, how he looks, because they were calling him. The tight ends coach who coached Darren Waller with the Raiders said, I see a lot of Darren Waller in this guy, the way he runs his routes, the way he's natural with the ball in his hands. It's just like a big receiver. And Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, praising this guy for his work ethic, how often he came in. And we're starting to really see that play out in fruition, just eyeball test-wise. I mean, if you watched him play, if you watch the tape, Hayden Winks has a phenomenal tweet about this guy as well. Check it out, because if anybody watches ball, you see this guy and you say, this guy is a stud the way he plays. The counting stats look great. The way he racked them up, if you watch how he did it, looks even better. Again, the contested catches, the after-the-catch goodness, all of that stuff, he was ripping. So Oronde Gadsden, definitely a sleeper tight end. I love tight end 7 for me. A question I got a ton. I posted this one on Reddit. A lot of questions came in on that. And a big question I got was him or Cade Otton, which I think is a very fair question. Cade Otton, we know when one of these receivers is out, and we know Evans and Godwin are now out. He became the focal point of this attack. I am +6 ECR on Cade Otton, but I still think I'd go Gadsden. It is a tough call because you got Gadsden as maybe I highlight all the strengths of him. The concerns are this elite target competition in terms of Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, and Ladd McConkey. Maybe the 4th option at best for Gadsden, or maybe he's the number 1 option based on last week as well, with all these weapons drawing the defensive attention. But nonetheless, you got Cade Otton really only behind Emeka Egbuka, clearly. I do think Tez Johnson steps up big there. I ultimately, if I had to pick between those two, I want to say Gadsden. My heart's also it's Otton. It's going to be Otton. He's going to be safer. It is safer for sure with Cade Otton, but Oronde Gadsden would be that ceiling play. Again, after seeing 164 yards this last week, I do think this guy is him very much so. So that's Gadsden. That's Kimani Vidal. The next guy we have to talk about is Jordan Mason. Again, this will be about 15 minutes, and then it's on to the mailbag, on to all of your questions, Wolfpack. Please do consider. We got almost 700 of you here right off the jump in the first 8 minutes. Thank you so much. We love to see that. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets. It all helps us grow so much. We're making that climb. We're over 4,700 at this point as we make that march towards 5,000 on YouTube. Let's talk about Jordan Mason, though, because Aaron Jones is going to be active tonight. And so we have to kind of tell the two tales of Jordan Mason. Since week 3, with Aaron Jones out, it's been solid. The usage has certainly been there. He's been a top 24 running back in 3 of the 4, but really just one ceiling game. Had that first week as a starter against Cincinnati, and he put up 23 points, largely on the back of 2 touchdowns. He did have his season best usage day last week, 76% of snaps, 75% of carries, 57% of the routes. But even so, 11.7 points, running back 20. Okay, fine. Solid, though, usage in these 3 games without Aaron Jones. 67% of the snaps, 71% of the rushes, 50% of the routes. So, yeah, a very solid in terms of usage-wise, low-end running back one type usage. And now he gets the Chargers, a team that has been giving up the 9th most points to the backs on the season, but the most points across their last 3 games. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 26 points. Devon Achane, 29 points. JT, 32.7. And sure, we have some studs in there, especially in JT and Achane. But JCM, that was his career best so far, 26 points against this team. All 3 of those backs putting up multiple touchdowns as well. And so it seems like an absolute smash spot here for Aaron Jones, or rather Jordan Mason, but Aaron Jones seems to be returning this week now, which is very, very unfortunate because in those first 2 weeks, it was far more of a split. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, 57% and 59% of the snaps compared to 47% and 43% for Aaron Jones. And I get it. This is Jones's first game back. I don't expect us to be right back into those week 1 splits of 56%, 45%, 55, 45 to the fullest type of backfield right there. But I don't think it's also going to be the 76% as well. Aaron Jones, it is worth noting, it was just 2 limited practices that he got in, despite still being expected to play. I would not be getting Aaron Jones in my lineup unless I was truly desperate. If I'm in like the Isaiah Davis weeds, that type of area, sure. Okay, maybe we go to him. But with Jones returning, it did knock Mason down on the guy, mostly again because this Charger matchup and how many touchdowns they've been giving up to running backs, especially across their last 3. I think we get Jordan Mason in, and with Bymageddon here, it's going to be very, very tough to get him out of lineups. So Jordan Mason in for me. In most situations, I would rather play Kimani Vidal if that gives you a type of measuring stick. Please do let me know if you have a Jordan Mason style question. I would be more than happy to answer that. And the last story for tonight is the Chargers wide receivers and Jordan Addison. I wanted to sneak him in here as well. Worth mentioning Jordan Addison. Let me just kind of put together a quick Jordan Addison must start banner. And so I'll answer that one really quickly. Is he a must start? In my opinion, yes. He has been a top 20 wide receiver in all the 3 games he has played so far this year. That's as many top 20 games as Justin Jefferson has. And Justin Jefferson has played 6 games on the season. And I'm not sitting here trying to say, okay, Jordan Addison better than Justin Jefferson, but he has averaged more points per game. He's been a top 20 receiver just as many times and half as many starts. And whereas the more so thing I'm trying to illustrate here is everybody considers Justin Jefferson a must start. You don't ask questions about him. And I agree with that. There's no doubt about that. But if we think that about him, and Jordan Addison is playing as well, if not even a little better, he's feasting on number 2s. I get it. Jefferson's 10,000 times the receiver, maybe the best in the league. Totally understand. Not trying to make that argument at all that Jordan Addison is a better player. But in terms of fantasy, his upside is just as high any given week. I definitely consider this, even closer of a gap than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins right now in terms of fantasy production. Because again, we got 15.4, 15.1, and 21.9 from Jordan Addison. He out-targeted Justin Jefferson last week, a 30% target share for Jordan Addison last week. This is more so, again, to illustrate that I'm not benching Jordan Addison in any situations. He is inside my top 20 wide receivers like he's been all 3 weeks he's been active. And I feel very good about him. And certainly if the game flow is as it's expected by Vegas, a 3.5-point underdog for the Vikings, Carson Wentz has been doing some good stuff for these wide receivers. And of course, that is to say, Carson Wentz has been actually pretty solid, mediocre, real life-wise, pretty horrendous, but fantasy-wise, sustaining our boys. None more than Jordan Addison so far, who's averaging 17.4 points per game on the season compared to 15.5 for Justin Jefferson. So just keeping that in mind, again, bringing that point up, not to diss Jefferson necessarily, but to more so say, hey, why were you asking about Jordan Addison? He's going to be locked in the last. I'd have him over all 3 of the Chargers wide receivers, if that helps you measure any of that. But speaking of the Chargers wide receivers, let's just quickly break down, on the season, where are we at with these guys? 12.4 points per game for Ladd McConkey is the lowest of these 3. The guy that was the highest drafted, a second-round pick in many formats, is going the lowest here in terms of points per game. I do think that will potentially pick up. He is the wide receiver 23, even with that on the season. But behind Quentin Johnston, who has 16.2 and is leading this team in points per game. But Keenan Allen, 15.9 points per game, leading this team with a 27% target share. Or rather 27% targets per route run and 25% target share on the year. Wide receiver 7 in points per game is Keenan Allen. Last week, 14 targets for Keenan Allen, 13 for Ladd, and 5 for Quentin Johnston, though. So it's not just about what have you done on the season, but what have you done for me lately? It does seem like QJ, the one trending the wrong way, he would be the lowest of these 3 wide receivers, but all 3 of them are in my wide receiver 2 type of bucket in that wide receiver 20 to 28 range. So I like all 3 of them. Like I said, mentioned, I do like Jordan Addison more than all 3, but I do happy to play all 3. It is a tough matchup. Entering last week, the Vikings were the fewest points allowed to wide receivers, but that might be a little fluky because we just saw the Vikings get bombed because Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both going for over 30 fantasy points. So I'm not going to look into that matchup too scary or fade any of these 3. I think they're all playable, especially if this game can open up and light it up here, especially with Joe Alt planning to play as well. That should help a guy like Quentin Johnston, who might need a little more time to develop the route down the field, and that good stuff might not be all just the quick hit, quick strike stuff. With the blitzes being on, we know that's what Flores loves to do. We could see a few big plays open up here. So all this to say, when we talk about Kimani Vidal, Gadsden, Mason, Chargers, I like them all tonight. I really do. But of course, it does come down to who must we play. So please do let me know in the questions who you guys have. And we'll start talking about those sit starts. I do not have my moderator here, so I apologize, Phil, keeping you waiting. You had 13 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. David Campanelli is not here, my man, The Truth, who will probably be joining at some point, had to drop his kids off at different practices and whatnots. So it was just my eyes on the news. I apologize for missing this because the whole point of Super Chats is that you get to cut the line. So my apologies, Phil and NC Firearms, and even Chronic. I know it's only been 2 minutes for you waiting, but thank you guys so much for your Super Chats. It really does help support your boy, and you're supposed to cut the line, so my bad for delaying this. Let's get right into this. Saquon, Chase Brown, Mason, sit any of these guys. Let's see what these options are. London, DK, Pittman, Worthy, Hollywood. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 flex. I am leaning into Saquon and Brown for the running backs. I'm leaning into London and not Hollywood at all. We can cut Hollywood from this question. But I do like Pittman a lot this week facing Tennessee. He should destroy them. And I like DK. I know last week, pretty sketchy target share. But ultimately, you're not going to pepper the 4 tight ends every single week, I can't imagine. So I would probably play this London, DK, Pittman in the flex, Saquon, Chase Brown, benching Mason begrudgingly. But I do love all 3 of these wide receivers in this situation. I'm trying to look and see if you don't mention if it's PPR or half. As long as it's half or full PPR. If it is a standard league, if all you really care about is yards and touchdowns, I do think Mason's a great bet to find the end zone tonight, even with Aaron Jones back. This is a Chargers team that's going to be getting absolutely bludgeoned on the ground. There is the upside for a 2-touchdown night out of Mason as well. We've seen that in 3 straight weeks. Running backs have scored 2+ touchdowns against them. So it is risky benching him. Man, I just feel like you can't bench London. You can't bench it. I know it's annoying to bench Saquon. Chase Brown is very close with Mason. Aaron Jones getting activated did bump Chase Brown ahead of Mason in my rankings for me. Yeah, gun to my head. I think I'm sitting Mason. I apologize in advance, Phil, if he goes off for 2 scores tonight. It would definitely hurt. But I'm going to go Saquon, Brown, London, DK, Pittman is how I am playing that one if I was facing that decision. Thank you again so much, Phil, for your support. And sorry again to keep you waiting. I know the whole point is to cut the line with these Super Chats. NC Firearms, thank you so much for your Super Chat as well. We're looking at Marks, Mims, or Booty. I'm leaning into Marks here. We saw a nice switch up in terms of the snap share here for Woody Marks this last week. Yes, that had a lot to do with game flow, but I think against the 49ers, we're going to find the Houston Texans chasing points once again. And granted, I know 10 carries, 15 yards, that is hideous. But as a pass catcher, Marks continued to get it done, caught a touchdown against the Seahawks, and looked really solid. Mims is very, very tempting against the Denver, facing the Cowboys there. Every wide receiver goes absolutely ballistic against the Cowboys. So I understand why Mims is tempting. Could this be one of his 35-point blow-up days? Absolutely. He's going to have a few of those in the season, but he is certainly much more of a better in best ball guy because he'll blow up one week, and then if you don't have him on the right week, it's tough. And so I'm looking at his point totals just to highlight that. 18, 3, 4, 13. this should be a blow-up spot. This is the best matchup for all receivers on the year. So never mind, just Mims' best matchup. But also, so I'll read all his games. 1, 9, 1, 18, 3, 4, 13. So even the ceiling games haven't quite been. Remember last year we had like 25, 30. We're just not reaching that, So ultimately, could he against Dallas? Absolutely. I'm not going to bench Woody Marks, so I think he's got a much more guaranteed workload. He's been scoring at a very, very solid clip. So I even have Kayshon Boutte, despite the great matchup, ahead of Marvin Mims. He's been real hot. 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. I love what Boutte's doing. I love what Drake May's doing. Cleveland, ugly matchup, though. I like Marks, gun to my head, is where I'm leaning. I do like Xavier Legette quite a bit as well. I do like Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is probably my favorite of all the wide receivers, especially if Josh Downs does end up sitting. If Downs does sit, I might actually go to Alec Pierce on this one, NC Firearms. But assuming that Downs is back in, I'll go Woody Marks as my favorite. So Woody Marks, as of right now, the guy I'm playing here. Should we get a Josh Downs rule out, I would be pivoting to Alec Pierce, though, as a heads up. Chronic, Odunze bounce back or Addison? Oh, I just said I would not be benching Addison in most of these situations, but Baltimore giving up the second most points to wide receivers, getting bombed routinely. Yeah, that's a reason why I might bench them. So, yes, I would be going with the Odunze bounce back. And it's a bounce back, but, I mean, you look at the extenuating circumstances. I will know he was a stock down for me. I had him as a potential. You never ask questions. You always have this guy locked in. We did have against Washington, I believe it was 2 pass interference penalties against this guy, 2 touchdowns he should have had. And very tic-tac. He wasn't like, oh yeah, clearly deserved that. Brutal pass interferences that we would have been looking at 5 straight games of 15 or more PPR points. We then get New Orleans. That was ugly, but it was also a little bit of rain. I'm not trying to just give this guy a complete hall pass. I get it. These last 2 games have been weak, but Baltimore's the perfect get-right spot. And just on the season, he has been so rock solid. We talked about, again, the fact that Addison's been top 20 in every single game. We had a Rome Odunze start where we're looking at wide receiver 21, 4, 18, 17. So he was right there lighting it up too. I lean into Odunze here. I do love Jordan Addison. I wish there was a way to get them both in there for you, Chronic. But if I could only pick one, I have Rome in my top 10, and Addison's more so wide receiver 18 right there in the flex for me, for sure. All righty, guys, that wraps up these Super Chats for now. If you do want to cut the line, Super Chatting is the way to do it. It helps your boy out so much. Thank you again, NC Firearms, Chronic, and, of course, Phil kicking off those Super Chats. And sorry again, Phil, you had to wait a little bit longer than you should have for your Super Chat. My apologies there. On to the regular mailbag, though, Wolfpack. Let's just dive right in. We're at 1,270 of you. If you want to help your boy out, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button on Twitter, on YouTube. Really does help us out. The like button on Twitter, the retweet, all that good stuff. Help us grow and get out to more people. And, of course, we welcome any new subscribers as well. These rankings that I referenced, what I'm talking about, they're free and they're live at rotostreetjournal.com. I believe I put them in the description here, but if not, just go to rotostreetjournal.com. You'll see it right at the top menu. Our rankings will be there for you. Charles Kahua, Mason or Swift for running back 2? I got to go with Swift on this one. The guy's been lights out, rock solid these last few weeks since the bye hit. It seems like they really prioritize fixing that run game, and you get a Baltimore team giving up. Somehow, as bad as Miami has been, Baltimore is still giving up more points per game. You got Swift with 25 and 20, running back 5 and 6 these last 2 weeks, and he gets the best possible matchup you could ask for. He's my running back 13, and honestly, that feels a little bit low. I'm +3, actually running back 12. I'm +3 ECR on him, and I want to get him even higher. So I'm going Swift for sure there. Would have gone Swift anyways, even if Aaron Jones was not playing, but with Aaron Jones likely in, it's Swift, and it's a no-brainer. What's going on, Bulldog? Thumbs up, indeed. Greatly appreciate it, sir. Should I start Vidal or Jordan Mason? You probably heard in the opening there, Bulldog, I give a case for both these guys. The one I do like more is Vidal with Aaron Jones now joining the lineup. I flipped those two today because Vidal has nobody, legitimately nobody he's contending with. Maybe Nyheim Hines will mix in for a little bit, but give me Vidal all day. 71% of the rush share since we had Omarion Hampton knocked out, right around a 70% snap share, 50% route share. It's a workhorse back. It's an offense that we believe in. You got Joe Alt. The line should be better than what we saw last week. So I'm going to go with Vidal, the feature back there. My man John, consistently coming in with your super chats. It is not unnoticed. It's greatly appreciated, John. Thank you so much. Redraft trade. Should I trade Matthew Goldham and Corum for Diggs and either and either Dowdle or Kamara? I mean, I'd say I prefer Dowdle or Kamara for Corum by 10 miles, and I prefer Diggs to Matthew Golden. So this one to me is an absolute no-brainer. I would say trade Matthew Golden and Corum for one of those guys, whether that's Diggs or Dowdle. Never mind both of them. So yes, Diggs, Dowdle, Diggs, Kamara, either or, I'm happy to go for. I prefer, I believe, Dowdle on the season that to Kamara. It just feels like a guy that runs out of gas as an older veteran that's getting a ton of work. The Dowdle's in that timeshare too. It doesn't matter. I prefer either of those guys to Corum by 8 tiers. And I prefer Diggs by at least 3 or 4 tiers to Matthew Golden. I don't know who would do that trade. I don't know why that trade's happening. I think that's an absolute no-brainer trade right there. And then Chargers D or Philly D? That's a better question. Gun to my head, I'm probably going Phillies at home. They're getting healthy. This is going to be a different defense than Jackson Dart first ran into. And Jackson Dart's a stud. I mean, putting up 30 points against the Broncos, the most they've surrendered, I believe, in 3 seasons now. That's no joke. This offense is very, very good. I don't mean any disrespect to him. But, I mean, yeah, you got Chargers against a potentially turnover-prone Carson Wentz. The other thing with this too, John, is if you're only allowed to carry one defense, and roster-wise, I know you're allowed to carry more, but let's say you don't want to cut another person to have 2 defenses. The Chargers do get the Titans next week. And so that's kind of one of those, if you weren't planning to carry both defenses and you only want to have one, you want to stash, let's say, Brashard Smith for that Monday night game, I'd rather have the Chargers for these next 2 weeks than that. So, if it's just a 1-week question, if I had to only pick one who I think is going to be the better option, I do think it is Philly this week, even though I love Jackson Dart. But they're close enough that if it's about holding on for the next couple weeks too, you got that Tennessee matchup coming up next week, it might make more sense to do the Chargers. So that gives you some food for thought. I would go Philly, and I would definitely do that trade. But I would also caveat that defensive question with I would go for the Chargers if you only want to have one on your roster. There's some good waiver wire prospects you want to kind of test out on the bench. Then I would only go with the Chargers in that case. Thank you so much, John, again, for the super chat. Very kind, very generous of you, good sir. Jax asking, Flex, should I start Quentin Johnston or Vidal PPR? That's a really good one, Jax. My knee-jerk reaction was Quentin Johnston. But only 5 targets last week does have me a little sketched out. This was a defense that got bombed deep all day by A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So part of me is like, yeah, well, Quentin Johnston, that's the deep threat. You got Joe Alt back. Lets those routes develop. I like Quentin. I'm starting Quentin Johnston in my main league. I don't have another option. I'm trying to think, like, if I had the option of Vidal and I'm looking at one or the other, who would I go? I want to say Quentin, but I know I'm a biased owner here, Jax. I know that's me just I'm wishing a blow up for Quentin Johnston. The safer play certainly is Vidal, again, with the 71% of the rush share. Now you don't even have Hassan Haskins in. Yeah, I probably would chase the volume of the running back here. But I'd be lying if I didn't think Quentin Johnston has like a big return, fully healthy now, the hamstring now 2 weeks behind him. Oh, very tough one, Jax. Oh, gun to my head. Vidal. Oh, very tough call, though. Hey, Wolf, what's good? What's good, Ross? With Jane Daniels out, do I start Bo Nix or Dak Prescott? Bo Nix of the 40-point day. Bo Nix getting the best possible matchup you could ask for against Dallas. I have these guys quarterback 6, quarterback 7. It's very close. It's a very fair question at Ross. I'm going Bo Nix, though. I cannot turn down a guy that's fresh off 40 points and now getting the best possible matchup you could ask for. Give me Bo Nix there. Should I start Darnell Mooney or Alec Pierce if Downs is out? Thanks. I think I would lean into Alec Pierce there. Strictly with Downs out, of course. Miami, such a cakewalk that sure, Darnell Mooney should get his, but also there's such a cakewalk that it might just be Bijan gets 15 to 20 carries. He's up to his 202, and now here comes Tyler Algier, 20 carries for him. I actually like Algier as a flex play this week, and the passing game might end up getting quite reduced because they just don't even need it at all. But give me Alec Pierce if Downs is out. Chronic, Wolf, Truth. Sadly, Truth is not sadly. He told me he's got the kids today, had to drop them off at something. He's hoping to get in there for sure at some point, try to come here and wrap up some of the mailbag with me. We will find out if he is able to do so. Wolf, Truth, what's up, guys? Get your coffee and get ready for the Bears, Ravens. I am excited. Let's hope fat, useless Andrews there gets pummeled by my Bears D. He sure could. That D is looking great. I had him last week. They were phenomenal for me. I love them. I did pivot to the Colts against the Titans this week, but love that Bears defense. Very, very solid stuff there. And I do think they pummel the fat and useless one, Mr. Mark Andrews. Bill, Mason, Mooney, or Dobbs flex PPR. And then we'll talk about this next one for you. I think I'm leaning Jordan Mason. I like him over Bill, I think. Kansas City's been a very tough run D the last 2 seasons in a row. Seems like a script that could get out of hand quickly when you have Mariota facing off against Mahomes there. And yes, Aaron Jones is coming back, but this is a defense the Chargers have given up multiple scores to multiple running backs for 3 straight weeks. They're getting pummeled, and that's where you get your value out of Mason. So I like Jordan Mason there. And then in terms of Pitts, Ertz, Andrews, or Mason, I'm guessing is Mason Taylor, because you're asking a tight end question. I think I'm leaning into Pitts for that one with that Miami juicy top 5 matchup. Pitts coming off a phenomenal game last week. I'm leaning into Kyle Pitts, I believe. Yeah, Ertz is really tempting, but now it's Mariota. Now that all the receivers are likely back, I'll lean into that 10 target, 7 catch, 62-yard day for Pitts. I hope he keeps good things going against Miami. Caleb or Rodgers, 6-point pass touchdowns. I like Caleb there. Love that game. Again, the Baltimore Ravens giving up so many points through the air, 2 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 on the ground. They give up the most points to like everything. It's a bad defense. So I like Caleb here. I think he throws more touchdowns. Rodgers isn't bad, not a bad option at all. Revenge game 2 against his Packers. Very excited for that one. I like the Steelers as an underdog in that game as well. I'm going Caleb Williams in this one. Stroud, Mack, or Purdy, or Tyrod. Give me the 49ers, whoever they are. It's a tough Houston defense, no doubt. Mack was pretty underwhelming last week, but still averaging over 300 yards per start so far this year. I'm going to go with the 49ers quarterback in that one, and then Caleb in the other one. And Chronic asking Genties on bye who to start, Algier, Spears, or Gainwell. I like Algier the most. I love that Miami matchup. I think the Falcons steamroll them, and then we get mop-up duty for Algier there. And Genty on bye who to start for another league. Looks like the same exact 3 options, and so I'm going to stick with Algier. Second time, no, I changed my answer to Spears. No, I like Algier of those 3 options. Cole Jacobson, Kimani Vidal, or Jordan Mason, start one. We've gotten that one a couple times already tonight. And of the 2, I'm going to lean into the guy that has a more surefire workhorse role, and that's Kimani Vidal. Love Mason's touchdown upside. I love the matchup for Mason more. If Aaron Jones was out, I had Mason higher. As soon as he was ruled in, we're talking about a guy that goes from a 75% snap share guy to a 55%, and still the clear rush share guy, still the clear touchdown guy. And he's going to probably get one in tonight. I really do feel good about Mason doing so. But Vidal catches, touchdowns, tons of carries. He's the feature guy, and the line looks better. Both tackles potentially coming back tonight. So I go with Kimani Vidal there, Cole. Droid, 2 flex, 1 receiver. Javonte, James Cook, Rico, Tet, T, or Malik. Thank you. For the wide receiver, I think Tet, man, T's looking really good with old man Flacco. But I also think we've seen it. Andy Dalton comes in and suddenly Adam Thielen was like a top 15 wide receiver with Andy Dalton. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that Andy Dalton's quarterbacking. So I like Tet in this one. Buffalo, nothing to be scared of. You definitely go in Javonte and James Cook for the 2 flex as well. I'm going Javonte, James Cook, and Tet. very closely followed by T. Higgins, but I like Tet just a little bit more there, Droid. Ross H. Should I start Darnell Mooney or Alec Pierce if Downs is out? Oh, I think we answered that one already, Ross, and it was that Kimberly Smith asking the same exact question. I can't imagine Kimberly and Ross are the same person, huh? Droid, one tight end. Andrews, Schultz, or Oronde. I'm going Oronde Gadsden 10 out of 10 times there. Droid, coming off that career high. Yes, a lot of target competition, but you look at these other two options, and sure, Schultz with all these weapons maybe has a decent ceiling. I don't buy that, though. Give me Oronde. 1,500 of you here, Wolfpack. Love to see it. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button for your boys. The likes, the shares, the retweets, any new subscriptions is so greatly appreciated. And, of course, all of these rankings at rotostreetjournal.com. Should I start Wentz tonight? I have Mariota and Lamar, but I'm screwed if I bench Wentz and Lamar doesn't play. I'd rather have Mariota than Wentz. So if this is a matter of two quarterbacks here, Pacers fan, and you got to get Wentz in, and you have no backup plan, I mean, could you pick up? It would be ugly, but like Cooper Rush, how screwed are you if Lamar doesn't play? It seems I guarantee you Lamar probably does, and I do think Mariota is a decent step ahead of Wentz, just because when he starts, he runs, and we've seen some solid fantasy days. 20 points and 17 points in his two starts so far this year. Quarterback 6, quarterback 17 in those weeks. I just think that's far more upside than anything you're going to get from Mariota, especially with them playing from behind. You should be getting some points. So I would wait this out, but if you can't pick up another backup, you can't do something of that nature, then maybe you have to. But I think Lamar is going to play, and you're going to be just fine. Giuseppe Russo. Flacco, Penix, or Rodgers? Call me nuts. I'm going old man Flacco. He looked phenomenal. A mini type of revenge game against the Jets, who had him a few years ago. All you got to do is pepper Jamar Chase, and you're going to have some solid fantasy production, Flacco realized, and that's what he's doing. So give me Flacco there. Wolfpack LFG. Do I flex DK, Addison, or Vidal? A lot of intriguing options here, Giuseppe. I mean, I have DK the highest in my rankings, but why do I want to say Addison? I just love Addison. But I'm looking at what DK done. Last week's the season low, 7 points, but 18, 21, 11, 10, 10. That's a pretty nice floor for DK. And I really do think Rodgers is going to want to stick it to his old team. We might see some of those classic calling off the run to throw some slants to DK in the red zone. I'm going to go with DK in that one. Better stash, Isaiah Davis or Brashard Smith? I prefer Brashard Smith. I think there is some legs to Isaiah Davis in the sense of Breece Hall getting traded. He's got the knee thing going on too. But it just, to me, comes down to, do you want a piece in the Jets or a piece in the Chiefs? I want a piece in the Chiefs. I know volume is king, and Davis might have the faster path to that if there's a trade or injury with Hall. But I like Brashard Smith in that one, Giuseppe, which you asked a couple times. So here, let's get back to flat. Oh, yeah, your questions are popping up on repeat here, Giuseppe. I think you might have hit enter twice by accent here. Pick 2 for Mike Vecht. Chase Brown, Jordan Mason, Vidal, worried about Aaron Jones. Understandably so. I'm a little bit worried too, and I do have Chase Brown and Vidal the high. If Jordan Mason, sorry, I want to just repeat that again. I like Chase Brown and Vidal the most. Jordan Mason, probably my favorite end zone bet, though, if I had to pick one of these guys to score. Just a matter of, does he get in twice and really make you regret it? 3 straight running backs have done that against this Chargers defense that's really crumbling. But I do see totally Aaron Jones, 55% of the snaps went to Jordan Mason, 45% to Jones when he was healthy. I worry that this becomes much closer, that 75% of the snaps and almost 80% work share for Mason takes a decent hit tonight is my worry. So, yeah, I go Brown and Vidal. Trade Golden for Vidal? No, that really depends on where you're at. I think you have at least 2 to 3 more weeks of Vidal being that starter. There is the risk that if Vidal doesn't do much tonight, that this team, they were rumored to be interested in the trade market and getting themselves a running back upgrade. Still very, very much in play. And even if not, Omar and Hampton comes back and Vidal is nothing down the stretch run. But if you're, let's say, 3-4, you're desperate for a running back, it's Bimageddon. Yeah, I can totally understand it. I don't think this is totally unfair at all. Golden, urine boy, is just pissing his pants every week. He comes off a career high 2 weeks ago and regresses completely the next week. long-term value. Golden certainly has more path to, we haven't seen the ceiling. The role could be developing as a rookie. I've liked the glimpses I've seen. The talent is certainly there. The usage just is so inconsistent and maddening. Even with Jaden Reed out, the Golden should only ascend, but Reed is so explosive, and he's going to come back in November. I lean into here. I'd probably take this trade, especially again if you're 5-2 and you're in good shape, you're in the driver's seat. You probably don't need Vidal, but otherwise, if you're 500, you're in the hunt. You need a running back help. I probably take this deal because I don't know that Golden's going to emerge as anything all that special as a Golden owner myself. And thank you, Phil, for understanding. And sorry about that delay. Really, really appreciate the super chat and really appreciate your understanding as well. Lucio Ranelli, PPR flex, Tet or QJ starting Vidal as running back 2 and currently have Gadsden as tight end over Fannin. Yeah, I agree with too many Chargers, and I probably would rather have Tet anyways, but certainly in your shoes, Lucio, it works if the Chargers go off, if they're facing Miami, whatever it might be. This is a tougher defense, and this is one where I don't know that I'd want 3 Chargers in my lineup, especially not 3 questionable players, at least in Vidal and Gadsden. I really think Gadsden himself is a baller. Vidal, good volume bet tonight. But yeah, I'd rather go Tet anyways, so certainly right now. And then Gadsden or Kincaid. I mean, the rub with Kincaid is he healthy? He was questionable a couple weeks ago and then ended up sitting. But if he's in, you couldn't ask for a better matchup than Carolina. I believe 44% of yards receiving have been from tight ends against Carolina, which is just insane. And Kincaid all year, 13-6, 15-9, and 14 and half PPR. He's been rock solid all season. I like Kincaid here. I like waiting it out. But that preface being is Cade Otton available? Do you have a backup plan ready if Kincaid did unexpectedly get ruled out? So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I'd rather play Kincaid. Che Ombros. DK Metcalf over Addison? I think so. It doesn't feel great after that dud DK put up, but I really think Rodgers is aiming for a legacy game on Sunday. So I like DK over Addison this week, yes, but I love Addison. I'm as high as anybody on Jordan Addison. I just think I go with DK in that one. Pat Freiermuth or Colston Loveland with Cole Kmet banged up. This is a very interesting question. I think Freiermuth, sure, it got there last week. There's no doubt about it. What an insane game. Rodgers has been freezing this guy out all year. It's been a weird rotation. Darnell Washington's leading the team in routes the last couple of weeks. I'd probably go Loveland here, assuming Cole Kmet's out, and maybe just hope this is that rookie coming out party and a great matchup against Baltimore. What's up, Titan Style? It's going very well. How you doing, sir? Mason Taylor or Gadsden? This one's a Gadsden, no doubt for me. Tyrod Taylor should boost Taylor. The Taylor to Taylor connection. I mean, I didn't consider that. That sounds pretty damn good now that it comes out of the mouth here. But no, I'm still going Gadsden. The Jets offense is so hapless. And I do think Justin Fields is a lot of the blame, but probably not all of it. Give me Gadsden. Give me Gadsden. Which defense for Patrick? Bears versus Baltimore? No thanks. Jets versus Cincy? No thanks. Niners versus Houston or Ravens versus Chicago or play. I mean, if you're allowed to play no D and you can have a high upside option on your bench, maybe. If I had to pick one of these guys, it'd be the 49ers against Houston for sure. Pretty thin due to buys. Do I start Aaron Jones or Brashard Smith at running back 2? Shane, I think I'm going Brashard Smith. 14 carries, a ton of targets last week. I think a 15% target share, second on the team behind only Rashee Rice. That Jerick McKinnon role starting to cook up a little bit. I know it was garbage time. I know it was blowouts, but we also have Kareem Hunt not practicing so far this week. I like Brashard Smith there, Shane. I do. Starting Vidal tonight, I sure am Titan style. Got Kamara and Stevenson. I'd go Vidal over Stevenson. I know Stevenson dominating the workload well ahead of Travion for whatever reason, despite all these fumbles. I understand that. Tougher matchup. Cleveland's a very, very good run D. Only tougher spot is who's that defense you just can't start? It might be Cleveland, actually. They're very brutal running back spot. In fact, it's maybe the Patriots is the only spot that's tougher. They haven't given up a 50-yard rusher on the year. I like Vidal over either of those, and then I would be putting Kamara in at the flex spot as well. So I'd be benching Stevenson and thinking Tex instead. I don't know who Tex is. I'm sorry. Maybe Tet? No, yeah, I like Tet more. Devontae Smith or Jordan Addison tonight? I'm leaning Addison. I know tough to bench Devontae. I mean, maybe not, though. You get the Giants, and we just saw how many points they give to wide receivers. 29-point day for Devonta Smith. He's been pretty solid, 15, 7, and 29 and half PPR these last 3 weeks. I'll go Devonta. I know I was like, Jordan Addison's approaching don't ask question territory, and I haven't gone him on any of these. My wide receiver 18 plus 5 ECR, and I'm still going some of these other guys, I guess. Man, yeah, good questions, tough situations, great problems to have. A lot of good players in these questions. Battle of first place in my league. Let's go, St. Hanzo. I have Mason, Johnston, Gadsden. I believe a super chat came in, so John coming in with a second super chat. Thank you so much, John, for double super chat, and we'll get back to you, St. Hanzo, I promise. Kelsey or Mason? I go Mason there, hoping for the touchdowns. This is a defense that has been bleeding points to backs. So I go Jordan Mason. Now, if that's Mason Taylor, I go Kelsey for sure. Apparently, we have to now clarify our Masons out here because there's Jordan Mason and Mason Taylor. You could be asking about the flex. Now, assuming that it's the tight end, I'm definitely going Kelsey. Mason Taylor does get that beautiful matchup against Cincy. Most points allowed, 2 tight ends. I understand it. I just don't buy this Jets offense at all. Woody or Pacheco? I think I got to go with Pacheco in a good game script and potentially without Kareem Hunt here. I got to bump him up a little bit in the rankings. I'm seeing right now I have him below Woody, and I definitely would have Pacheco higher given these injury concerns on Kareem Hunt. Given that the team seems to want to be elevating Pacheco, especially if Hunt misses this game, and now Pacheco's the goal line guy, I would really, really like him. I'd certainly like him over Marks, over even Algier, who I do love in mop-up duty, but give me Pacheco a bump up. So, yeah, I have him above Woody Marks at this point. Very close, though. Same tier. Good question. Thank you again so much for those super chats. All righty. And then we were at St. Hanzo. Thank you for patience. Thank you again so much for your super chats. Everybody, so greatly appreciated, so helpful. That thumbs up button is also a free way to support your boy, whether you're on YouTube or on Twitter. Means the world, helps us get out to more people, and is so appreciated. Thank you again, guys, for being here. First place battle, let's go. You have Mason, Johnson, Gadsden, and Reichard. You got a big night, and you're facing Herbert Jefferson. Whew, good idea matching up or not. A lot of big guns going on both sides. I mean, St. Anzo, it really depends on who your other options are. I love all the guys you have in your lineup. It is a lot to be putting on Thursday night where we have seen some great games actually this year. I know everybody complains about Thursday night's going to be crap football. I mean, the way these have gone, we've had shootout after shootout. We've had overtime after overtime. I think it's totally viable. The thing is like for all these guys to go off, it means probably Herbert's having a huge day and Jefferson's smacking you around. So you're kind of banking on the game environment and hoping. And if those guys suck, it means your guys probably aren't doing much either. So which way do you take it? I'd probably play the guys, but again, it comes down to who the others are. But I love all 4 options, St. Anzo. Good luck in the battle for first place. And let me know specifically who you're considering if you're still here, good sir. Johnson versus who, Gadsden versus who, etc. Kicker might be where you could get different, right? Because then you just want a blow-up potential. You don't want the field goals. Golden for Vidal. Yeah, again, no, I do prefer Vidal in most cases, especially if you need those points right now. With Aaron Jones back, Spears, Pollard, or Mason, I'm still definitely going Mason. I know it stinks that Aaron Jones is back. We saw, again, 55% of the snaps leap to 75% over these last 3 games without Aaron Jones. But now that Jones is back to that 55% snaps potentially. But Jones limited all week. Maybe it's much ado about nothing. And we have, again, the Chargers on deck who have been giving up over this last week the most points to running backs. Multiple touchdowns in 3 straight weeks allowed to the running back 1. I like Jordan Mason quite a lot today and certainly still above those guys. Hassan Arida, 4186 full PPR. Need 4 of 5 to play, so we got to bench one of these guys. Woody Marks, Aaron Jones, Troy Franklin, Golden, and Downs. So for the running back, I'm going Woody Marks. For the wide receivers, I'm going Golden and Downs. I think I'm benching Aaron Jones. Now, the thing is you might not get Josh Downs, so is Alec Pierce out there. Who would be your next guy up? But I have a very, very hard time trusting Aaron Jones right off this injury after a couple limited practices. Really, really tough to know what his role is going to be. So I think I bench him. You got Troy Franklin as my next closest bench, assuming Downs is in. But he gets Dallas, and that's a beautiful matchup there. Beto HXJ. Drop 1, PPR. Booty, Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Josh Downs. If I had to drop one of these guys, it's probably Downs. It's certainly not Flowers or Quentin Johnston. It comes down to Booty versus Downs for me, who I would drop. I'm leaning Downs right now, but very close. Pick 2 for week 8. Booty, Quentin Johnston, Downs. I'm going Booty and Quentin Johnston. But if Zay Flowers in that conversation, you got to get him in too. Mark, BJ9GT. What's up, brother? I have to start Johnston or Vidal. I think I do like the Vidal upside, the feature back. We had that question earlier, and I went Vidal, and I'm still thinking that's the way to go it. Is the Lurch crazy? Let's find out. The Lurch 11. Told my sister to play Adunze in the flex over Vidal. I would go with that. I think the player comparison tools, that's kind of a lot of them baking the floor. And you know you're getting 12 to maybe even 20 touches for Vidal. So a lot of them are going to say it's safer. And it is safer. You're probably much better bet to get 8 to 10 points out of Vidal. You're a much better bet to get 20 to 30 out of Adunze. These last duds are a little scary. I get it. But I think Adunze is a beast. I think we have a get-right game for him. I'm going to Adunze. I'm with you. You're not crazy. Patrick, 544. Marks or Algier? I like Algier here. I really do. Sure, the clear number 2, but against Miami, everyone's going to get theirs. And I think they're going to really be bleeding that clock out late. I think we get 18 carries for Algier. I really do. Just Silent has no TD. Traded Josh Jacobs for Tyler Warren. Oof, no. I'd rather have Josh Jacobs here. Your running back depth is crazy. I understand it. Jacobs and McCaffrey, that's like you're going to title town. We're talking Tyler Warren, my rest of the season big board, probably top 35, but Jacobs, we're talking top 10. I think you're leaning too far into need, whereas you could probably find Gadsden might be gone now, but Cade Otton this week. You can kind of patch forward that tight end spot. I'd like to get Warren, but I think it's much more sane to do like a Dowdle Vidal or Krosky Merritt if he prefers Krosky Merritt. Like find a couple of smaller pieces to then get to Tyler Warren. I would not do Jacobs, no. We buy homes near you, standard league. Which tight end do you start with McBride on buy? Taylor, Otton, or Schultz? I like Cade Otton the most of these. Standard league is a little bit of it. You want more touchdowns, but all these guys are kind of betting for their place as a top-end target in their offense. I'll go for the one catching passes from Baker right now. Stephen McMahon. Good evening to you, sir. Chase Brown, Kimani Vidal, or Mason. Many thanks. I'm benching Mason there. I love Chase Brown with Flacco now here, getting that offense cooking. A little concerned that he only has 2 targets in back-to-back games with Flacco, but either way, we're hoping the holes are opened up and the touchdowns are there. And Flacco's really going to help with that, and the Jets just a pathetic defense. So I like Chase Brown the most. And then right behind him, running back 16, running back 17 is Kimani Vidal for me. I had Mason the highest here. Aaron Jones getting activated does change things up quite a bit for me. Maybe Jones is nothing and Mason just pounds in 2 like 3 straight backs have done against the Chargers. I do like Mason. He's my running back 20, but I have the other guys a couple spots above him. So give me Brown, give me Vidal, with this now becoming more of a committee again. And in PPR for Sweet Chili Keat, Kimani Vidal, JCM, or Warren. I like Kimani Vidal. Other 2 don't make lineup behind receivers. Totally fine. You guys have a good lineup because those are 3 solid running backs. I like Vidal the most tonight. Warren had that blow-up game last week and still split a lot of time with Gainwell. JCM had a great matchup against the Cowboys, didn't do much. Now gets a tougher matchup without his quarterback. I rank those Vidal, then Warren, and then JCM. And, I mean, it's 1 or 2 spots between Vidal or Warren. So if you felt Warren's a little safer, a little more proven, I just think Vidal, I think we get right in the middle of, we had that 22-point blow-up. We had 7.5. I think we get to like 12 tonight for Vidal. We buy homes near you. Standard league. Start 2 running backs. Mason, Jones, Kyle Monangai, or Algier. Definitely going Mason or Algier for there. And I would not be starting both running backs in the same backfield. But I love Algier in that mop-up duty, especially in standard league where you just want yards and touchdowns. Algiers getting those at a great clip behind Bijan even. And now you got the Miami matchup, and it just couldn't be any better. So give me Mason as the lead back for the Vikings. Monangai had that good game, but I don't fully trust it. Even in a good match against Baltimore. I like Algier, and I like Jordan Mason there. What do I do with Quan? Just believe in him. I am an Eagle fan, and I love Quan more than any other player. Slowly losing hope that he'll eventually be putting enough points to feel good. It's worrisome. It really is. This new Kevin Patullo guy, he has some question marks as an offensive coordinator, none being greater than what is happening to Saquon. The line in particular seems to be blamed. But, I don't know if it's just Juergens, a season-long injury. I feel like once that line gets healthy, at a certain point, you're going to get some Quan blow-ups. So I still believe in him. You have to at this point, especially if you're an Eagles fan. He's one of your favorite players. We play fantasy to root for guys. You're already rooting for Saquon, and now you have that little extra, boost there. Granted, though, Titan style, what are we doing, right? Are you talking about a trade? Do you have a good running back depth and you're trying to move Quan with his name value for a low-end wide receiver one? Yeah, I'd probably pull that trigger. He's fallen on my rest of season rankings in 3 straight weeks. You can find those, everybody, at rotostreetjournal.com for the weekly rest of season rankings update. Of course, the week-to-week rankings are, again, live at rotostreetjournal.com as well. So I understand why you're losing faith. I'm worried about the play caller. I'm worried about the line. I still, gun to my head, believe in Saquon, but if you're getting, like I said, low-end wide receiver one, if you're trying to move him and you have good running back depth, because you're certainly not cutting Saquon, but let's say somebody will give you a Mika Ibuka, Drake London, right? That type of player for Saquon, yeah, I'd probably do that. Should I start T. Higgins over Ladd this week? I like Ladd. I think I prefer Ladd in this one. Close call. Congested situations for both. But Ladd, any given week, 14 targets last week. He could pace this team in targets any given week, whereas T. Higgins is firmly behind Chase. That being said, though, the Jets is a good spot, whereas Sauce probably locking down on Jamar Chase. Wouldn't lock him down, but can be covering him as best he can. That might be more of a T. Higgins spot, but I still think I'm going to go Higgins behind Ladd and go Ladd here. Very tough call, though, Cody Welch. Very close. Vidal or Higgins flex spot. I think I go Vidal. I keep riding that featured back workload. That's a tough call there again, though. I do really like Higgins. Vidal, Pacheco, that is definitely Vidal for me there. Jay Decro for sure. And Pacheco on the rise, but I still think Vidal with that 60%-ish workload is the one to go after. Folks, we are an hour in. We're approaching 2,000 live viewers, 1,950 of you. Awesome. So greatly appreciated. Help us get over that hump and get to 2,000 for our Thursday by hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets. It all helps us out so much. Thank you again so much for being here. We got a healthy mailbag, so we will continue to plow forward. But after the show, all these rankings will be live and updated. They're already live on the website at rotostreetjournal.com, and I haven't made any significant changes quite yet. So if you want to check those out, rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find it. Gadsden or Taylor? I'm going Gadsden. I love the matchup for Taylor. I hate the Jets offense. Tyrod should be better for him, but even still, give me Gadsden. Got to keep riding that train, baby. JJ McCarthy believer. Not many of you out there. Good for you. Quentin Johnston or Ladd rest of season? I don't know. You got the same warts for both of them. A congested situation where any given week one can blow up, then the other does nothing. I feel like Ladd, if I had to pick one, is the safer bet. Like QJ had the hamstring already. Seems to be a little bit more limited in what he can do. I love them both, though. And any given week, it's tough. But if I could pick only one for my team, it'd be Ladd, JJ. JR's smile. Trade Nico and Mason for Bucky. Yeah, we're talking, I guess it doesn't really matter what Mason it is. I mean, I love Nico. So if you're giving up Jordan Mason, who's been really, really solid, you might be giving up too much here. But that one, JR, Bucky for Nico, very similar. That's a team need type of thing. If your receivers are stacked, you need a running back. I like it. Good deal. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, this, again, comes down to need. I think you're giving up more than you're getting. If it's Mason Taylor, who cares? Yes, absolutely. But if it's Nico and Jordan Mason, that's a hefty price even with Aaron Jones back. But if your team needs dictated, if you really need that true running back one and you got a bunch of receivers, I pulled the trigger. Otherwise, I think you're giving up a little too much. Titan style, Tez over Stevenson. Call me nuts, but I love Tez Johnston. Something just feels right about this kid, especially with the role right now. We know Godwin's out. We know Igbuka's questionable. We know Evans is gone for the foreseeable future. I like Tez. Even if Igbuka's in, I like Tez. So, yeah, I think I do it. Tough matchup against Cleveland. I'd wait till he's officially back. I also have Bucky. Yeah, you might be able to pull out that weight there. I picked Mason for over 64.5 yards in a bet. I probably would have gone straight TD there, but I think either bet's good. This is a Chargers team getting bludgeoned on the ground, especially for TDs, but even for yards too. So I like the bet, Byron Mendez. I have no issue with that, but I would have gone TD myself. Darian Fanning, Quentin Johnston or Diggs, half PPR. Diggs really fallen off the wagon these last couple of weeks. I'm going Quentin Johnston. I like the upside tonight for him. Whereas Diggs, Cleveland, kind of a get in, get out, gross game is how I view that. Bo Nix or Herbert, already starting Keenan, Allen, and Quentin Johnston because of buys. It feels right to stack Herbert, but then you're really like all your eggs are in this basket. And if it flops tonight, it could flop huge. Whereas Bo Nix, you got Dallas, you got a lot of upside. Like Herbert could light it up tonight, and you benefit because you have Keenan and Quentin reaping those rewards. I'd rather, especially this week, because of that Dallas matchup, I'd rather go Bo Nix, spread the bets out a little bit. It's not a bad bet to make with Keenan Allen and Quentin, but this is a defense that's fourth fewest points allowed to wide receivers. Might be tough for both guys to get there. And just relying on all three of those guys could be tough. So give me Bo Nix, give me Keenan and Quentin. Bo, I have him and Dak in my league. I'm leaning towards starting him. I would do it. I would. They're my quarterback 6 and 7. It couldn't be closer, but I got one quarterback in Bo facing the worst pass defense in the league. I got one quarterback in Dak facing the best pass defense in the league. And Dak has been lights out. I think he's matchup proof. He is, again, my quarterback 7, but I'm going Bo there. You like this deal. Pearsall and Trey Henderson for Goddard, Jacoby, and Harvey. 12-team PPR redraft. I prefer Camille's, honestly, it's like a bunch of guys that could end up panning out down the stretch run of the season. I'd say, gun to my head, who do I think pans out the most? I kind of think Harvey does, and maybe Jacoby gets traded to a better situation. I like the Goddard, Jacoby, Harvey side of that because as a Pats fan, I'm very worried about Trevion Henderson. I'm not sure this pans out better for him. Pearsall, very, very intriguing too. But now Kittle's back, and yeah, I probably prefer the Goddard, Jacoby, and Harvey side of that. Last moment switch almost cost him. That's my man Jaws. Good to see you. Putting in Caleb for Herbert. Oh, why'd you do that? I had Herbert at my quarterback 2 or 3 last week, Jaws. I think I would have definitely said Herbert. This week, I am leaning probably Herb still. You're not going to get 55 pass attempts any given week. I don't know, though. This is tough because Baltimore is such a joke defense. Any lean? I had to look at what I had, Jaws, for my rankings. I have Caleb 11, Herbert 12. Couldn't be closer, same tier. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams, though. I love that Baltimore matchup. Dobbins or Vidal, PPR, Brashard Smith. So I go Dobbins over all those guys, especially Brashard Smith. I mean, it is close. But, yeah, I think Dobbins is just – you got that Dallas matchup, and I cannot pass that up. We could be talking about a 2-touchdown. As inconsistent and annoying as Sean Payton is with his backfield usage, I like to go Dobbins there. I think they know they need to win. They need to ride that wave, and Dobbins just gets fed. I like this to be a big Dobbins week. So we already did that trade for Camillus. Vidal or Dobbins, Giuseppe, I'm still going Dobbins for that one. St. Onzo, I have everyone else on bye except Pollard and Scary Terry coming back. I like Scary Terry there. I do. Could walk right. But you got Mariota at quarterback. So I don't remember, St. Onzo, what the other weapons were there. So if you want to remind me, let me know. It's been about 150 questions since then. So sadly, I do not remember exactly what yours was. And also We're over the 2,000 mark, folks. You guys are the best. A reminder to all 2,000 of you, rotostreetjournal.com, where you can find all of our phenomenal content. I have a Gadsden write-up if you have questions on him on the site. My rankings are always live and free. Rest of season rankings, all there for you. We got buy low, sell high from my man, the Duck. So many good content. Waiver, everything you need is there. So check that out. And, of course, a thumbs up, a heart on Twitter, likes, the shares, the retweets, it all is so greatly helpful to us, Wolfpack. Absolute Ketel. Need a running back, too, behind Javonte. Have Warren, JCM, Vidal. I lean Vidal, Warren, JCM, with Vidal and Warren literally a spot within each other. Vidal a few spots below them. So I do think your leaning is correct to have your Warren and Vidal similarly. So let's take JCM out of this. I like Vidal. It's tough, though, because Warren really did show out last week. It seems like he is trending the right way. Would you offer Tet and Bill for Garrett Wilson? I don't know what to make of Garrett Wilson because he was really killing it. He's going to probably lead this league in target share. And if Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback, it's only even better for him. But if they do decide, let's keep seeing what we have in Fields as the stretch run goes on, you're susceptible to a 0 any given week, even if it's a 35% target share most weeks. I think you're giving up too much, most likely. I think you can either aim higher or give up less. Am I really playing Quentin, Johnston, Keenan, Vidal, and Gadsden all on Thursday night? It is scary. It's risky. We've seen some big Thursday night games. If you last week had played Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown and Flacco, you would have been like, yeah, I'm rocking it. And maybe we get another big game. When your other options are those, I'm going with what you got here, Jay Dreckero, and you're just hoping for points on points. How do you feel about Kamara? Fine, good volume. You got Kendre Miller now removed. I do like Devin Neal. I think he might be a threat. It's just one of those things. Kamara, you're going to get workload, going to probably look solid, and he always just runs out of gas. The older guy with big work typically ends up running out of steam when you need him most in the playoffs, but certainly a good piece until that gas tank gets empty, no doubt about it. Half PPR Gadsden or Fannin, got that one on Reddit a ton today, and I said Gadsden every time. Certainly prefer the very similar profiles as tweener pass catching options. I want the one tied to Justin Herbert, even if Fannin's more of the top of his target tree and Gadsden's on the bottom of his. Is he on the bottom? Everyone assumes he's on the bottom, and he keeps just these last 2 weeks, 8 and 9 targets, 7 catches back-to-back games. I'm going Gadsden. Pollard or Marks? I like probably Pollard here. 6 catches last week. Looked solid enough. I think I lean Pollard on that one. I'd rather have Algier than both, though, if he's out there, Tyler the Kid. But, yeah, I go Pollard slightly over Marks. Home gym beat, Pollard or Spears? Got to keep going with Pollard, the lead guy there. Even in full PPR where Spears gets a little bump, I still lean Pollard. He had 6 catches last week. Vidal or Johnston? We've gotten that one a few times, Heather. I do say Vidal, more guaranteed 12 to 20-ish touches. 5 targets last week, a little sketchy for Johnston. Love them both, though. Think they're both great options, but I'm going Vidal. Stop spamming Camille. Come on. Jacob Beatty. Hey, great to see you, brother. Hope the season's in your favor. Going pretty well. Abates second place in the Fez, and just welcomed Rashee Rice and George Kittle back to the lineup. So feeling in good spirits, and Lamar Jackson as well. And I'm in second. Can't complain about that. Beatty in good spirits. I hope your season is going too well, very well as well. My guy, can we trust Chase Brown? Toss-up is standard scoring pick 1. Brown, Diggs, or Booty? I'm going Chase Brown. I am. 110 yards on the ground, looked much better. The offense looked far more opened up with Flacco really having the scheme down, having a full couple weeks under his belt. I like what I saw, and I don't think they'll have any trouble moving the ball against the Jets. Diggs and Booty is just like, okay, which one's going to pop off? I love what Drake May's doing. You know, Bates, as a Pats fan, MVP. Love the guy. Phenomenal quarterback play. Feeling so good about my Pats. Diggs or Booty, though, alternating weeks. Which one's it going to be? I don't know. Is it going to be any of them, or are they just going to steamroll the Browns on the ground? Tough to do. I like Chase Brown more than those other two. Chamiri Dyke in Dynasty. Beck or Jermaine Burton would be the cut. Yeah, I like Besh there. I'd rather have Besh on my team, especially with Myers likely to be traded, it would seem. Should I trade Addison or Sutton for Vidal? Um, but I would cut Jermaine Burton for Dyke if you have the option to do that. Luke, should I trade Addison or Sutton for Vidal? Since one of these are on my bench and Bucky plus Amarian are hurt, so I need the running back. I wouldn't. I really value both those guys very, very highly in terms of Addison or Sutton. Luke, if you're desperate though, let's say you're 3-4, you need a running back. I mean, I'm saying who's out there in your league. I'd like to know before I make this trade if you can get Algier and have him pound the Dolphins. Rashard Smith potentially in that clear running back too if Hunt's ruled out. I think you can piece it together and get yourself to Hampton because once Hampton's back, Vidal's useless. Whereas Addison and Sutton, it's never a bad thing to have that depth. I know one has to ride your bench, so it's like, do I get that starter now, get the boost? How big's that boost really? Great 2 weeks ago, 22, 7.5 this last week. I think we meet in the middle. But any given week, like you might trade for him, and then boom, the Chargers trade for another running back, as has been rumored these last few weeks, and suddenly it really hurts. So I don't think I pulled the trigger on that deal unless you are really desperate and you need the win. You're only 2 or 3 wins on the season, maybe, just maybe, but I'd hold pat myself. Jordan Drexler, thank you so much for the support. Greatly appreciate the super chat. Pick 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 flex out of these guys. Javante, Cook, definitely the 2 running backs, well ahead of Vidal and Hubbard. Hubbard's not going to be in this consideration because Vidal might be your flex. Javante and Cook certainly locked into the lineup, though. Egbuka, DK, Addison, Higgins, Worthy. This is where it gets a lot tougher. You're probably going to be starting 3 receivers. You got to go Egbuka if he's in. I'm lighting that guy up against the Saints. There's no doubt about it. I'd probably go DK over Addison, and then it becomes Vidal or Addison for the flex here. I'm going to go Addison, top 20 wide receiver all 3 weeks, 17 points per game, outscoring Jefferson from a points per game perspective, and has a good rapport with Carson Wentz. 30% target share, had more targets than Jefferson last week. I like what Addison's doing. So give me Egbuka, DK, and Addison in this one. I'm intrigued by Vidal, but again, one huge game against Miami does not make a man. And so I think he's going to have a solid night. I think he's going to have 15-ish touches. No Hassan Haskins. The running back volume has been great. I just don't buy the player fully. And so that leads me to go with the talents I prefer of Egbuka, DK, and Addison. And honestly, I'd go Higgins over Vidal probably if Egbuka, DK, or Addison was ruled out. Egbuka, the questionable one there. So, yeah, I go Javante, Cook. I go Egbuka, DK, and Addison for the flex there. Great depth, great options. Try to make a package deal and then get your, a true one, something of that nature, is what I'd recommend. All righty, we were off with Luke Bowen. You asked that one on Twitter as well, Luke. So again, I do not recommend doing that deal. And thank you again so much for the super chat, guys. 2,200 of you here. Consider hitting that thumbs up button, the likes, the shares, the retweets. I know it gets annoying hearing me continue to say it, but it really does help us get out to more people and grow the channel. And of course, rotostreetjournal.com is where you can see all of these rankings and help your boy out by getting those clicks and that ad money on the site too. All greatly helps your boy. Jalen Hurts and Kenneth Walker for Pickens and Golden. I think, Comyar, depends on who your quarterback, who do you go down to. I think Pickens is the best player of the deal. I think Golden is kind of useless. So would I trade Jalen Hurts and Walker for Pickens? I don't know. It depends who your other quarterback is. Depends on your running back depth. I think Walker is in a really tough spot here, losing all the goal line volume to Charbonnet. Takes a big hit there. Hurts is phenomenal. But I probably don't pull this trigger just because I have no interest in what's his name? Sorry, a super chat came in and popped right up. Golden really doesn't do much, move the needle much for me. My man, Omar F. What's going on, brother? Goff on bye. Do I roll Caleb or mighty Joe Flacco this week? Hopefully the Browns and Pats shoot out and Judd goes for 3 touchdowns again. Not against this Pats run D, bud. We both had 2 really good run Ds, so I do think the teams will be taken to the air. The Patriots haven't given up a 50-yard rusher on the season yet, and I don't think Judkins will be the first. Maybe he could be. He's getting featured, but no 3 tutties. This ain't the Dolphins' defense, my man. Should be a fun game, though, Omar. Great to see you. In terms of Caleb or Mighty Joe Flacco, very tough question. I love Flacco. I really do. I prefer him as a human being 10 out of 10 times to Caleb, but that Baltimore matchup is juicy as anything. They are, 3 or 4 spots within the rankings to me. And Flacco, man, that looked phenomenal. My worries, though, is the Jets are just a doormat, and Flacco doesn't need to keep the gas pedal down quite like he did against the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Steelers sneaky are also the second best matchup for quarterbacks in adjusted points allowed to the position. And so, Flacco lighting them up isn't as crazy as it might seem. So I'm going to go with Caleb Williams, hope for a shootout-style game. That is a game where Baltimore, Lamar Jackson likely back. That defense, so pathetic. I just got to go with Caleb Williams on that one. Thank you so much, Omar. I would say good luck to your Browns, but screw your Browns. But best of luck to you in fantasy, other than your boy Judkins. Love it, though. Thank you again so much, brother, for the support. I really appreciate it, Omar. And we were at the time here. We were at Luke. We're at this trade. Should I start Chase Brown or Rachaad White? I got to keep riding the Rachaad White train. Samaje, just a true featured back, scored in all 3 games without Bucky. That offense is a beast. New Orleans sucks. So, yeah, give me Chase Brown. Hey, Felipe, thanks for your kind words. I hope you subscribe and come back. We'll be live 8 a.m. on Sunday as well. We do these sit-start shows Thursdays and Sundays. I'm glad you enjoy it. Would love to have you here for the long term. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and everybody else, that like button. So greatly appreciated. What was the take on Vidal for tonight? Des Cott, you have a rewind button. Hit it. Check it out from earlier. But the big take was he's been a featured running back through these last 2 weeks. Now you have Haskins, the only other guy that was getting volume is removed. It is a tougher matchup. 22nd in points allowed are the Vikings. So it is a volume bet, but volume is typically king at running back. He's my running back 17 on the week +2 ECR. I like him. If I like the player even more, I love him. But he's most likely a start. It depends, Des Cott, who your other options are. But if you want the more in-depth take, feel free to rewind and have some more depth on him and all the other guys too. Mason, Taylor, and Pickens for Stevenson, McBride, and Diggs. Have Kincaid for Trey's bye. I like it. I'd rather have the Pickens side. No, I want the McBride side. I like McBride. I like Diggs. I like Stevenson. I think Mason's value is going to dry up. Pickens is going on the downfling with CD here. I still love Pickens, but Mason Taylor does nothing for me. You got 2 players trending the wrong way. I'll go Stevenson, McBride, and Diggs there. You've asked that trade too many times, Camille. I'm putting you in timeout. All righty. P Gear. I need depth, and I'm going to trade Jefferson with either K9 and Merritt. Looking to add Sutton, Addison, Stevenson, Wandale. Who should I ask for? I mean, if you're giving up Jefferson, you better be getting something real good. I think you got to try to get Bucky out of this. I think Bucky and Sutton for Jefferson is kind of fair. Maybe you can get Wandale as like a toss-in, but you gotta be selling high here, P Gear. You gotta. I would be going for Sutton and Bucky and maybe Wandale as well. And I would not be, that's for just Jefferson. So if you're adding Merritt, I'd add K9 before I'd add Merritt. So let's say Jefferson, K9 for Sutton, Addison, Sutton, Bucky, Wandale, maybe. That's probably the best you could hope for. And it looks like a bully season with a super chat. Thank you so much, bully season. Half PPR, AJ, Olave, Jay Jettas, Quentin, pick 3. I'm going to go Rashee Rice, my number 1 receiver of the week. I'm going to go Jettas, top 10 receiver, no doubt about it. And it comes down to AJ versus Olave. It was great to see AJ start cooking. You also had Olave fresh off 2 touchdowns and a bad Bucs defense on the other side of thing. I think gun to my head, I have Olave in my lineup, but I'd take him out for AJ if I could. So Jettas, Quentin, I'd go Rashee Rice, Jefferson. There's no doubt. 2 top 3 receivers. You're locking them in bully season. The next one comes down to Olave versus AJ. Olave is safer. AJ is the ceiling play. It kind of depends on what you need. Maybe entering Sunday, you'll have a better picture of your matchup, and let's say you're a 20-point underdog, yeah, you got to go AJ. Maybe you're the favorite. You're a 15-point favorite. You want safety. Well, Olave is going to get you 10. He's going to get 15 targets. He's getting peppered. AJ is far more likely to disappear and only get you 3 and be a kick to the nuts. Whereas he can also, we won't get explicit of what he also could do downstairs for you, but 30 points last week. Fi cutting out. So just to make sure that got through, I know the wheel of doom came for a second. Rashee Rice, Jefferson, and AJ, most situations for me. But if you're a heavy favorite, if you're cooking, then I am cool with pivoting over to Chris Olave as the safer option against AJ Brown. All righty. We were at we're at this one, digital sum up. Flex Mason or Devonta Smith? I'm going to go Devonta Smith, especially with the full PPR. Good matchup coming off a 189-yard day. I'm going Devonta Smith there. Love the feedback. I think Brown's in a better spot now. Yep, absolutely. Last toss-up, pick one standard. Kelsey, Diggs, Booty, or Mark Andrews? I kind of like Diggs there. 2 weeks ago, it was like Diggs back to top 12 wide receiver. And these last few, I know, sketchy. But, I mean, Kelsey, 50 yards last week. Rashee Rice back and just doing the Kelsey thing better than Kelsey. Booty, whack-a-mole, what week's going to be big? Andrews, fat and useless, trash bag. I like Diggs there, Jacob 80. Get Andrews out of the question. You just put Andrews in there to get me mad. Like, get him the fuck out. No way. Sorry for the language, but no way. Tommy Toluga, the fullback up the gut. Need 2, Ladd, Igbuka, or White PPR. And just traded Etienne for Bucky. Love that deal. Bucky coming back. You have White to bridge you till he's back. I think Etienne's trending the wrong way. Tootin eventually takes that job over. Tonight I'm playing Igbuka, and then I'm going Rachaad White. Load up on those Bucks. It's a phenomenal offense, and now it's very condensed with those two being the focal points. Ladd, any given week, it could be Quentin. Any given week, it could be Keenan, Gadsden. It's just such a messy situation. I do like Ladd, but I like Igbuka and White a whole lot more this week. Traded Genty and McBride for Lamb and Kittle. Fleeced them. Love that trade. Even without the context digital slurp, phenomenal deal. Think you absolutely cleaned up. 3 running backs, Bucky, White, and Swift. Bucky and White buys week 9. Do you think I take the 0 for a spot or drop one of my bench? I have Debo and Higgins and Olave plus Puka and Rice. I would take the 0. I don't think you can cut 8-man league. Maybe you cut Ladd. If you're allowed, especially to cut after they've played, see what happens with Ladd. If he's not a feature guy tonight, cut him for one of those guys. It's always tough to cut that. But let's say you're 6-1, you don't need the win, Cody, then yeah, that's very hard to drop any of those guys. I like Rachaad White over Chase Brown. I don't know what you're asking about, but I definitely take Rachaad White over Chase Brown. Samaji. Herbert or Baker? I'm going Baker Mayfield. That Saints matchup is juicy. Flacco or Mariota? I would go Flacco. Very close, though, Jake Beatty. Very close. He said White. Yeah. You're welcome, bully season. Mason or Breece? I'm going Breece Hall, assuming he is in. Jose Rodriguez. You got to go with the talent on that one. Just realized I still need a defense. Cincy, Baltimore, San Fran, Houston, and Jets are available. I'd probably go with Houston there. Home team, good defense, some touchdowns this year. Probably roll with that. Half PPR, pick 2, Jordan Mason, Judkins, Quentin, Johnston. I'd be benching, I believe, Jordan Mason in this one, Nate Pogg. We got 55% snap player with Aaron Jones. Who knows how involved Aaron Jones' first week back will be. A little sketchy, though. So give me Judkins, give me Quentin Johnston there. And last question from Stephen Ducey. Aaron Jones or Io Manor? Ooh, digging in the weeds here. I'll go for Aaron Jones and just hope he's healthy. Hopefully he rips off a big play. Io Manor and that Titans offense stink. Io Manor is fine, but Cam Ward looks like trash. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones there. And then we have Shaheed, Tez Johnson, Tet Jennings, or Golden. He needs 1. I'm going to go with Tet. I'm going to go with Tet Johnson. Tet McMillan there is who I assume that is. So give me him. Awesome. Leaning Houston choices are all ass, if we're being honest. They sure are, Omar, but I think Houston's the least ass of them all. Already, Wolfpack 2,400. I think that's a new Thursday record. We hit like 4,000 on Sunday mornings, which was incredible. I'll be live again Sunday morning. Would love to have you guys. 8 a.m. I will be up there. So I will be there for some coffee. Would love to have you guys join me. One last call for a thumbs up button on your way out. The likes, the shares, the retweets, all that helps us get out to more people. And of course, check out rotostreetjournal.com for all of these rankings live and updated. And again, Sunday morning, 8 a.m. we'll be live. Just also a heads up, a warning. Next week, I will not be live for Thursday. We have my daughter's 7-month appointment. She's getting checked out, shots, all that stuff. Hate when she gets shots, but will not be live next week as a heads up for you guys. But we'll be live Sunday morning this week. So come on in 8 a.m. this Sunday morning. And one last call again for that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the like, the share, the retweet. So greatly helpful. And check out rotostreetjournal.com for all these rankings, all of my content, all of my great writers' content. We'd love to have you check it out. In a world full of fancy sheep guys, be the wolf. Later.